Yesterday, I had a very strong urge to go back to my old porn habit, but I didn't. And in this video, I'm gonna share with you what I do to overcome those temptations, those urges, those triggers that come sometimes. Even though I personally have been clean from porn for many years now, I still get those temptations. In this video, I'm gonna tell you what you can do to pass over those things. Now, I'm gonna share a specific example from yesterday that really made me, something that happened that made me really wanna go back to my old habit. And even after being clean for many years, I still find sometimes occasionally these strong urges and impulses do come back very strongly. And you know, it's really typical for an addict, maybe you've experienced this to yourself, to feel like this urge is not going to go away until I act out, until I release. And if I act out, then I'll feel better. But I'm here to tell you, as someone that's been through this myself, I've seen the top of the mountain, and I've climbed out of the jungle, and I've helped other men do exactly the same thing. I'll tell you that it's not the case that if you just act out, then those feelings of stress, anxiety, or depression or boredom will go away. It's not the case. And in fact, what I found is that you're acting out, the act of masturbating and watching porn specifically, is what is actually contributing to you feeling those feelings in the first place, right? Like the feeling of stress, the feeling of anxiety, the feeling of just being bored out of your mind and not knowing what to do. Those feelings in itself are being caused fundamentally by your porn habit. And every time you do indulge them and think, and you have that little monster in your brain tell you that you need porn in order to relieve those emotions, every time you do that, it builds a chain link effect. And you're just making the addiction escalate over time, making it more deep, and making yourself more susceptible to creating an ongoing and long-lasting addiction, right? But in this video, I'm gonna share specifically a point yesterday where I woke up in the morning. First thing I did was check my email, bad idea. And I got an email from someone that I'm working with, a guy that I'm mentoring. And he had an issue with our online course, a small little technical glitch, right? Now, it's just a small issue, right? But I was not in a good state in the morning. First thing, check my email and get that kind of email. He wasn't upset or anything. He was just saying this is not working. The problem for me is that my tendency is I like to just fix it, right? I did a lot of technical web design stuff for many years. And my tendency is like, I want to fix it immediately. But the problem here is I couldn't fix it because we have a third-party web developer working on our website. And so I was really frustrated that I couldn't just fix the issue even though I knew how to do it. I had to wait and rely on somebody else to fix the issue for me. And this caused me so much anxiety all day. Until the end of the day, I was just like, and I felt like this urge to get rid of this stress that I was feeling, this anxiety I was feeling. And of course, we know that the fastest and simplest way to escape any emotion is through addiction, is through compulsive behaviors like drugs, like alcohol, like smoking, heroin, and watching porn, right? That's what I'm getting to. So I had this desire to go back to porn. And in that little monster, it's not like I was consciously like, oh, I want to watch porn, right? That doesn't make sense. I know logically that's a bad idea, and that's just going to lead me down a terrible path. But that little monster in my brain was like, you know what? Porn would solve this. The little monster that is really small right now. It used to be bigger, but it's a tiny little thing there. And it kind of crept back, and it came back to life as a zombie that I killed many years ago, came back as a zombie, and I needed to kill it again. I needed to give the final blow. I needed to finish it off. That's what she said. Just kidding. I needed to get rid of this monster. And it was saying like, you know, dude, you need porn because it's gonna help you. It's gonna fix this issue, this anxiety you're feeling right now. It's gonna fix it. And so I let that emotion kind of sit there for too long. And then I started thinking about, this is really what the practice that I want you guys to learn from this video. I started to just think and pray and meditate. I went on a long walk and think, okay, why am I feeling so much anxiety about this little issue, right? Of course, maybe, you know, my justification kicks in, like I did everything right. I'm not in the wrong. The web developer is not great, you know, like all these thoughts came to mind. But then I tried to go deep into myself and stop blaming everybody for my situation, right? And I thought, okay, why do I feel anxiety about this? Why do I feel all the time when something's not perfect? When I feel like I fell short of something, right? In this case, a technical glitch. If I fell short of something and one of my mentees, person I'm mentoring, is not happy with something. And I realized after talking with God, after talking with my wife, after just thinking more about it, I realized that I have a lot of insecurity about receiving disapproval from people. Like, I have this constant need to have approval from everybody. And if someone disapproves of me or a project that I'm working on or our program, I feel like it's a disapproval of me as a human being. And I feel this constant need to prove myself as worthy, as right, as praiseworthy. And this affects a lot of areas of my life. This is why I'm always on time for meetings. This is why I check all my emails and respond to emails as soon as possible, because I don't want people to disapprove me and my work ethic, and I don't like being someone that's looked down on, you know what I'm saying? And that's not right or wrong. It's just the problem with this is that it causes me a lot of anxiety when I feel like I'm not being approved of and feeling disapproval from people. And then I started talking with my wife about it and my brother, and I realized that after talking with my brother and my wife, that this disapproval or approval aspect of my life really stems from my childhood and the way that I was raised by my parents. You know, my parents are very loving people, and I love them to death. And they did their best, right, as all our parents do. But their way of raising me was very much of a approval and disapproval mentality. Like, I'm good if I do this, and I'm not good if I do this. If I go to church every week, I'm good. If I read my Bible, I'm good. If I do the things that I'm supposed to do, I'm good. If I, have a good relationship with my wife and I have kids, I'm good. If I don't do X, Y, Z, then I'm a bad son. That's my mentality. Of course, they didn't say that, but that's how I felt all the time, especially growing up in a religious home, right? In a faith home. So after I realized that, like, I have a lot of anxiety because of this approval, disapproval element in my life. And as long as I have that, I feel a lot of anxiety and stress when I don't feel the approval of people. So I decided, regarding this technical website thing, instead of just trying to control it like I usually do, is like fire our third-party web designer, or just backlash and say, hey, the system's fine, it's right, or just, beat myself up with shame and guilt. Another option, a lateral option, is always this. I can just be okay with the discomfort of this anxiety that I'm feeling. I can go inward and realize that I do have this anxiety about being disapproved of in my life and letting down people in my life, letting down you guys. And that's okay. And I just am learning to accept that it's okay to not have the approval of everybody and to be perfect all the time. And that's, in a nutshell, that's the story of how I today woke up and I felt, wow, I do not feel stressed. I do not feel anxiety. I do not feel this urge to go back to porn. And I had finally finished off this little monster in my brain that was telling me to go back to porn. And I killed it. And I murdered it. And I buried it in the ground. And it was not going to come back to life. And if it does, guys, which occasionally it does, I know how to deal with it. Because what you fundamentally need to do is you need to know that your porn habit has nothing to do with porn. It has nothing to do with pixels on a screen. It has everything to do with why you use porn in those exact moments. And when you realize the root cause of why you use porn, it becomes infinitely easier to master it because you know what to address. And anytime you have a trigger or an urge or a relapse, I want you to go inward and figure out what led me to this. It's a hint, it's a clue to figure out what you need to work on. You cannot just will yourself through porn. You have to recover. Abstinence is different from recovery. You're only abstaining from porn when you're just biting your tongue and pushing yourself through it through sheer willpower. You're never going to recover because you don't have what it takes to actually heal and figure out the root cause. And my friends, this becomes your most important mission of all. This is the most important thing in your life right now. Figuring out why is it that you're using porn and addressing that. And when you become so intensely serious about fixing that, it will dramatically increase your odds and your chances of beating this thing. Because there is always what I've noticed in our program is that there is always one singular stressor in your life that is causing you the most stress and anxiety, that if you address, then it will infinitely make your process and your progress of beating porn easier to do. But sometimes the thing that you need to work on is a lot deeper than you might realize. Like for me, example, this tiny little technical issue helped me realize some insecurities I have about myself, right? So I want this to become your number one priority from this day forward, is if you feel urges, triggers, figure out why and address that. and make that one of your most important things you do in your life. Because if you do that, it'll affect every other aspect of your life, including your relationships, especially your relationships, your faith, your relationship with God, your spirituality, your anything you believe in, your work, your career. It'll affect those areas too. Because imagine if you could stop being the guy that is controlled by his emotions, but rather be the person that has control over himself. You can be that, my friends. I am that, most of the time. But I believe in you. If this video is helpful, I want you to like it and subscribe, and also check out some other videos around here. If you want to join our program, go to benuyama.com. That's the best way I can help you beat porn and masturbation. I love you all. Take care.